Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's head-to-head comparison, let's take a look at the 2025 Audi S3 and the 2024 Volkswagen Golf R. I've had a lot of requests to make this video. Now, we don't have the 25-year model yet for the Golf R at the time of this video, but for the 25-year model, it's not really going to be much different, aside from the fact that there's no more manual transmission, so it is just offered in the automatic. There will also be a black edition, so it's going to give it some different cosmetic looks. There's also going to be an illuminating Volkswagen badge up front. So again, some cosmetic changes, larger paddle shifters for the automatic too. But for today's video, we have both of these basically sibling vehicles from the Volkswagen group. So both of these share the same platform, engine, and a lot of the mechanical components. The main difference between Volkswagen and Audi though is that the Audi is going to be a lot more refined feeling. You do get a lot more options with the S3 versus the Golf R. So in today's review, starting MSRPs for both of these models are very similar. For the Golf R, they start at $45,000. The model in today's video is closer to $48,000. Now for the Audi, they start at $48,000, so a little bit more, but we also have, like I mentioned earlier, a lot more options. In today's video with the Premium Plus, this one is just over $60,000. So there is a big price discrepancy in today's video. This is the only 25 S3 that I have been able to film so far. So hopefully I'll be able to find one that's a little bit less to show those features. But like I said, you have a lot more refinements, a lot more options. You can build it a lot more. The Golf R only has a few options that you can really go with. Now underneath the hood, this is powered by the 2-liter inline 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. It's paired to the 7-speed automatic, and it pumps out 328 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque. That power is sent through the Quattro all-wheel drive system, propelling this 3,500-pound sedan from 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. It has a top speed of 155 miles an hour. It also has a fuel capacity of 14.5 gallons. You'll expect to see around 23 miles per gallon in the city, 31 out on the highway. Now underneath the hood, this is powered by the 2-liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder engine. This model is paired to the 7-speed DSG automatic transmission, and it pumps out 315 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque. That power is sent through the 4Motion all-wheel drive system, propelling this 3,400-pound hatchback from 0 to 60 in just over 4 seconds. With the performance package, top speed is increased to 167 miles an hour. It also has a fuel capacity of 14.5 gallons. You'll expect to see around 22 miles per gallon in the city, 31 out on the highway. Now, as we take a look at the exterior styling, it definitely has a great look to it. Take a look at the LEDs for the lights as well. The DRLs have a unique look to them with all of these different lighting elements within the upper section, and then the headlights, high beams, and the lower lights have a great look too. The turn signal goes through the middle of them, which is a neat look. Now there's the new Audi badge in the front. There's also a lot of cutouts along with the sensors. And then in the lower section, you'll notice more inlets on both sides, more cutouts in the middle, and then the hexagonal grille is still retained. It just has a little bit of a tweak to it, but I think it gives it a great look. There's also 4 distinctive lines that come down the hood as well, meeting the top of that surround. Now, as we take a look at the exterior styling, you'll notice all the blue accents for this Golf R. There's also the Volkswagen badge, which is the forward sensor, and then there's also some DRLs that run just underneath that blue accent. This also has LEDs for all of the lighting, of course, with a great design to those housings. And then in the lower section, there's all the gloss black with parking sensors, and a lot of cutouts to provide additional cooling to all of the components up front. There's also some very crisp lines that come down the hood and meet the top section of this headlight housing very nicely. The blue accents is definitely a great touch, especially with this white. Now, as we work our way to the side, this model has a 2-tone design for these wheels with that multi-spoke pattern. There's also the red S-line brakes. This model does get a lot of carbon fiber accents too. So those are on the mirror caps, where there's also the turn signal. There's gloss black for the lower side skirt. It's around the entire window trim. And then this model also has a sunroof up top too. And then very clean lines that run down the side. I like the bulges in that front and just behind the rear tire there. Gives it a great angular look. And you'll notice too that it works its way to the brake calipers, where there's also the R logo finished off in silver to match these multi-spoke wheels. There's a gloss black trim accent with the R logo, which is finished off in more silver there. And then there's even a brushed accent for the mirror covers, which have a turn signal on them too. Now this does have a sunroof, so you'll notice that for the front section of the roof. There's also black accents for all of the window trim, and then some more crisp lines that run down the side. Definitely gives this a hot hatch look that has a great design overall. There's also more carbon fiber for this trunk mounted spoiler with a new Audi badge, backup camera. There's LEDs for the lights in the back, all of the parking sensors too, the quad tip dual exhaust, which is an option for this S-Line exhaust, and then gloss black for the entire lower section there. Now, as we work our way to the cargo space, you can use the button on the key fob or the one up underneath, where you have a good bit of space for this smaller size sedan. There's also a hook over on this passenger side, so you can place some groceries there. You can also fold down the back seats to give yourself that much more interior space, and you do get a little bit of space underneath the floor if you need to use that. There's one grab handle on that passenger side there. And then leading to the back with the Golf R, you get this gloss black additional stripe for the spoiler there. There's the third brake light up top, wiper blade in the lower section. There's also LEDs for the taillights. There's a backup camera, all the parking sensors, and then that quad tip dual exhaust with some diffusers and all of the gloss black accents. Now you won't actually be able to see the backup camera because it is hidden in that Volkswagen badge, but you can also use this as the handle in order to gain access into the cargo space. So it just gives it more of a clean look from the back. Now, once we are in the back with the back seats up, you have a good bit of space for this hot hatch. There's also a little bit of storage under the floor if you wanted to use that. There's this cover here, which you could remove if you needed additional space, and you can also fold down the back seats. With this hatchback design, you can put in some larger items, so it makes it a very practical vehicle for its smaller size. You have a lot more versatility with the space in the back. And then as we work our way to this interior, there are proximity door handles in the back, so you can lock and unlock this, which is very nice. Now for this door panel, there's Alcantara, there's also the Sonos audio. You get a little bit of storage in the lower section, really cool design with the ambient lighting there leading to the release handle, and then the brushed gray for that grab handle. And then this does have the nappa leather interior with the stitching that runs down the inserts. And at 5'10", as I hop into the back, it has a good bit of space. There's storage nets, there's also vents with auxiliaries and a temperature dial just underneath that. And then at my height, I am just barely touching the headliner. This is a small sedan from Audi, but I could ride around town a little bit on the tight side, but I could sit and be comfortable. Right in the middle, you can pull down this armrest where you get two cup holders. And then here's a look at visibility from the back. You have those additional windows to give you a little bit more lighting. Now, as we work our way to the back seats, the door panel here is pretty simple, but it has a great look to it with all of the leather there, the matte black. There's also the window control and then storage in that lower section. And then take a look at these seats with the carbon fiber-like design in the upper section. There's more blue accents, and you'll notice the carbon fiber runs down both sides there. A very interesting design to see. And at 5'10", I'd say I have a good bit of space. There's storage pockets. You even get heated seats too, along with your vents in the middle. There's some auxiliaries in the far lower section. And at my height, I have about a ½ inch to an inch or so of headroom here. So for its size and its design here, it's very practical for adults to sit and ride comfortably in the back. Now there's also the armrest where you have two cup holders and a little bit of space in the middle. You can also use this here to fold down the middle of the seat. So if you have some items that you need to place through, that's another versatile part with this car. Now there's a pretty big pillar there, but you do have large windows, so you can see around them very nicely. Now on this door panel, you'll notice this interesting design within the Alcantara. There's also the power folding side mirrors, which are heated, all the window controls, trunk release, and then a little bit more storage, and all the adjustments for these seats, which have the S logo up top and a great bolstering support to them. And then hopping into this vehicle, we have the solid and perforated leather steering wheel, but let's take a listen to how this S3 sounds. And then up front, there's the addition of the side mirror adjustments, which are power folding. They're heated too. There's all the window controls, lock and unlock, and even more storage in that lower section. And then the memory seating adjustments are located on the side, along with the automatic controls. And then R is up top. We have more of that carbon fiber and the blue accents for these sporty seats. And then we're also greeted with more blue for all the stitching on the steering wheel, which has perforated and solid leather. Our badge is down below. But let's start this up and take a listen to how the Golf R sounds. And coming back to the digital gauge cluster now, you'll see the tach, miles per hour, what gear you're in, and then you have some information to the left and the right. Now, if you use these controls on the left side of the steering wheel, you can further go through this information. So as you can tell, I'm scrolling through some info on the left side there that you can get into, and then you can use the arrows to further go through the top. Now, if you want to pull up the nav in full screen, simply just click on View, and now you can bring that up along with the rest of this information right in the middle. So just depending on how you want to view this information, you have two different ways there. There's also paddle shifters on this. There's a favorites button, volume and tuning, Bluetooth and voice commands, and then cruise and distance pacing is on that left. You get a little bit of storage on this left side with your headlight adjustments, some fog light controls. There's one air vent, another air vent on the right side, and then with the infotainment system, you have quite a lot that you can go through. So there's all of these icons that you can swipe through. If we go into vehicle, you can get into the drive select, or you can go through the different driving modes depending on how you're driving for the day. You have your driver assistance, AC you can get into, and you do have these shortcuts on the left side to get through your nav, music, and your phone. Now underneath that, there's another LCD screen where you can get through all of the climates. So you have temperature dials, fan speed, your AC controls, where you would like the air to go. This even has heated seats too, and you have a few other of those adjustments. There's a shortcut down below for the drive select, traction control with your engine start stop, the hazards. There's also a shortcut to the camera system. So you can bring this up where you have a few different views. There's also parallel parking, which is neat for this model. And then the last one is for your driving assistance. So when you bring this up, you have your park assist in order to go through some of that information. Now underneath that, there's wireless charging with two auxiliaries, and you have the adjustments for your volume. So just put your finger around the entire circle. That's how you can adjust volume. And then you have power, mute, and tuning. This is how you put this into reverse. So just push that forwards where you get that backup camera and the sensors. And then there's drive and sport mode and park in front of that. There's two cup holders in the middle, along with a little bit of storage, a 12 volt and the auxiliary. You get a little bit of storage in the armrest as well as in the glove box. And then up top, you have garage door buttons with the rear view mirror. You have your dome lights, and then the sunroof too. Now with the sunroof, you can actually open the sunroof and have the sunshade remain closed. So it is perforated, as you can tell, you can see through it. So very nice feature to have, just depending on how you want to have that set up. And then here's a look at visibility. The addition of that small window back there definitely helps over the right side, and then over the left side, you can easily see over that side too. Coming back to the digital gauge cluster, you'll notice the tach up top, and then we have some more information that we can go through within the rest of that screen. So over on the right side of the steering wheel, there's voice commands, there's also tuning, you have the heated steering wheel, and then you have the adjustments to go through this screen. So if I just push on one of these arrows, we can get into the navigation along with your audio phone. You can look at your speed, time, you have your acceleration, your torque meter, G-force meter. You have quite a lot that you can go through, even get into all of your settings here to accommodate for what you would like to see on your home screen. You can also click on the view icon and bring this up in a different view. So I can still go on that right side, but I can also go over to the left side and further go through some of this information. So just depending on how you want to view this for the day, you can even bring up the nav in full screen there. And then if you go back to a view again, we have another angle for your distance pacing. You can bring up your miles per hour. You even have more of an R setting with the tach right in the middle there. And then we are back to the setting that I previously showed. And you can even view info over on that left side. So very configurable depending on the driving that you are doing. Now this also has a very large set of paddle shifters, which is great to see. And then on this left side, there's the cruise control settings, distance pacing, you have volume for your audio. There's even the R mode, which is going to change not only the exhaust note, but it will change the gauge cluster there slightly as well. So you can have all of those settings ready to go for your race mode. So if I click on that again, we can bring that up in the infotainment system where you have comfort, sport, race, drift, special, and a custom mode. So very neat to see all of that depending on how you want to drive this hot hatch. Now there's one air vent on this side with a great design above that. There's also your headlight adjustments, some defrosters and fog lights. And then as we work our way to the infotainment system, you'll notice that we have a few different settings here that we can go through for that one screen. And then over on this left side, we can get into a lot more icons here. So you can scroll through all of these as needed and then even go over to a split view. And then you have one more where you have another split view to access all of this information. And then underneath that, there's volume right in the middle. You can also push on these right here or the actual control itself there. You have a temperature adjustment on both sides for your driver and passenger. In order to access that, just push on climate down below, and that's how you can get into these and turn them on. So when you do that, now you can get into these adjustments. You can even adjust them down below too, or use the screen as needed, where you have all of this information to get through this and control all of that, which is nice. There's also a mode control down below to get into the driving modes I showed earlier. There's a menu control where this also has parallel parking, and then you have some driving assistance that you can pull up too. Neat little controls underneath that screen there so you can get through all of this information. Now there's also an air vent next to that. There's some more auxiliaries with wireless charging and storage, a little bit of storage on this right side. And then in order to put this into reverse, simply just push that forwards where there's the backup camera with the sensors on one side. There's also drive and sport mode, and then park and the engine start stop is just in front of that. There's also the e-brake. You do have a cup holder in the middle, so just push on this button and that can bring that out, or if you need a little bit of space, you can hide that away. There's a 12 volt. You get a little bit of storage in the armrest there, as well as in the glove box. And then up top, there's the rear view mirror, you have dome lights, and then you have some adjustments for the sunshade and sunroof. Now with the sunshade, it's actually perforated, so you can actually have the sunroof open with the sunshade closed, which is really neat. Only Volkswagen and Audi do that, or you can have it open for that full effect, and then just swipe your finger to close that. So really neat to have those configurations. And then here's a look at visibility. Pretty easy to see. For a hot hatch, you have a lot of glass in both directions. And we're still in dynamic mode second gear. Here we go. With a mild acceleration, we're up to speed. The shifts are also virtually non-existent. They're so smooth, you can't even feel the upshifts. And then same goes for the downshifts. Very smooth in the downshifts with the rev matching that it has built in, just to provide you with more of that luxury feel. So there's nothing harsh about the shifting, even in dynamic mode, but it's still going to give you something that is sporty and fun. So this is what it's like to be behind the wheel for the new Audi S3. Definitely a nice place to be. It's also pretty easy to see around too. Like I mentioned, this is a small vehicle. A little bit hard to see the hood, which is interesting. You definitely sit low in this car, as you would expect in a sedan. But it's easy to place the car because of how small it is, and it's very comfortable even in the dynamic setting. So let's tone it back again into comfort, where we can feel a difference with the bumps in the road here. But it's a nice vehicle. Again, it's on the smaller side, so if you're not looking for a big vehicle, it's still practical for people in the back and smaller items, things like that. But it is one heck of a vehicle to drive. I think it's a really good vehicle, especially for the money. Maybe not quite going this fully loaded when you can get into an RS3 for not much more, but it's certainly a fun car. And I know my brother and his wife have really enjoyed these for the 3 that they've had total. So it's a really neat vehicle to check out. It's also quiet, well-refined feeling. There's really nothing to not like about it. And we are in R mode, second gear. Here we go. And just a mild acceleration. Obviously, this has a lot more potential than what I'm doing today. But with the paddles, again, very responsive. And I like the size too. It just gives you more of a sporty feel actually having this large paddle. They are steering wheel mounted, so they will move, of course, but it just gives you a larger paddle to grab, especially if the wheel is not pointed straight. But this is what it's like to be behind the wheel for the Golf R. For sub 50,000, is this the best hot hatch on today's market? Comment down below, let me know. Certainly a very popular one, and it offers quite a lot. And for the handling that we can test today, at least going around this turn, still puts a smile on your face. So doing any kind of driving with this is going to be a blast. This would make for a great commuter car. We also have the Harman Kardon audio, which I forgot to mention, but this would make for a great commuter and one that's sporty too. Practical as well if you have a family. If you're not looking for a big vehicle, you might be able to fit some car seats in the back and still have a fun sporty vehicle, and one that is about the average price of a brand new vehicle in today's market. So you have quite a lot. There's not an overabundance of anything, so I would call this more of a driver's car with the technology that you get for a daily basis, but also a lot of the performance technology that you can get as well. So a really good blend for the money. Very nice interior too. We do have some plastic up on the dash there, but for this pricing, not really all that unusual compared to other vehicles in its class. And coming back to our final thoughts between the Audi S3 and the Volkswagen Golf R, a huge difference that I didn't mention earlier is the fact that, of course, the Golf R is a hatchback versus a normal sedan for the S3. So it depends on what you need out of your vehicle as well. With the Golf R, you could even fit in a small bike. Something odd shaped can fit in the back. It's a little bit of a small vehicle still, but nonetheless, you have a lot more interior space to put in some larger items. So that's a factor. Exteriors are much different, of course. Interiors are also very different. They do share some of the same characteristics, but again, a little bit more refined feeling, a little bit more simple in the Golf R. Not to say that in a bad way, you just get some more of those premium luxury features in the Audi. So that's a big factor in choosing which one you want to go with. And of course, you can get a base S3 or the Golf R. So it just depends on the options that you want to go with and just the overall driving experience. Like I said earlier, they are going to be fairly similar because they are basically siblings under the Volkswagen umbrella. We just have cosmetic changes basically throughout the entire vehicle. So comment down below, would you rather go with the Audi S3, a little bit more premium feeling, or do you want the Golf R, still refined, but just not quite as much as the Audi? Let me know your thoughts down below, Audi or Volkswagen. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a huge thumbs up and consider smashing that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with our daily uploads. I will see you all in the next video.